Welcome to the Daily Show. What's going on, my people? How y'all doing? I hope all is well with you guys. Keep working hard, keep staying strong, keep living life to its fullest. I hope all is well. We appreciate you guys for tuning in with us again. Another episode, another done. Season 2, we keep going, we keep working hard, and I'm happy to be here with you guys again. Today and this week, we have a very special episode here for you today. I have a family friend, a mentor of mine. I'm very excited to get to this, and we've been able to, meet each other and get to know a lot about each other. And not only is he a great person, but he's a great mentor and he's a great advisor. So everybody, please welcome to the show with me, Mr. Brent Thibeaux. Woohoo! Yes, sir. Everybody clap it up for Mr. Brent. First of all, how are you doing? We appreciate you for coming on. And how's the pandemic life treating you as of right now? I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
You're good. You're good.
Okay. Sorry about that. I said thank you for allowing me to come on the show this wonderful morning in June. It's definitely a blessing. Life has been a blessing to me down here in Little M, Frisco, Texas. Just the pandemic life has just taught me a lot of things about humility and patience and the value of the things of living in the moment and getting things done in the present and not delaying them. So that's what I'm thankful for, and that I've learned a lot about myself, not to always be in a rush. The kind of like sometimes those things that you think that you need to rush.
Absolutely. I definitely have learned, how to rely on things myself now throughout the last year. And so it's obviously been a tough time, but it's also been a learning experience. Mr. Brent, for the listeners that may not know who you are, just give them a little brief overview of who you are as a person, where you're from, and some things you've been able to do across your lifetime to help you get to where you are today.
Well, okay. Well, thank you. My name is Brent Thibeaux. I'm originally from Oakland, Berkeley, California, and I was a former athlete growing up in Oakland. I played baseball and football at Skyline High School, Fremont High School. Uh, got was earned a scholarship to Prairie View A&M, Panthers in Texas in 1999, and I'm married to my wife Melissa Thibeaux, and we uh, we moved to Dallas in 2016, and from Oakland, California. So currently, the CEO of LegacyDriven Sports Apparel, a consultant agency where we equip companies with gear, and also we have like dry fit gear for athletes and companies when it's hot in the summertime. A lot of companies they work in, so we supply their gear all around the world. So that's a little about me for now. So
We've got some things in store, some shirts coming along in the process for you guys and for myself as well. So you guys, I'm gonna keep you guys updated as much as possible. Mr. Brent working on that, so you guys stay tuned for that. I usually get right into things within the guest's life. But I want to talk about this. Yes, you have the opportunity. Not too many people can say they've written a book, and you have the opportunity to write your own book, The Compass. Just briefly talk about personally, I've been able to read it and I've enjoyed it very much. But just talk about what the book is about and what inspired you to write the book and how you feel it turned out.
well, I would say that the book inspired. I was inspired, really in coming out of college at Grambling State and like 2006, 2007. I just thought to myself, like I was reading like some of my mentors, Dr. Michael, Eric Dyson, and their stories that they eloquently, illustrate. And it was like a guide, a footprint. So my thing was like my experiences. I never had anyone really give me the mentorship, the steps of things that happened in my career to get to a certain point. And I was like, well, where's the book, the pamphlet, the book for young African American males like yourself and other young men out there that, not just African American, that can use some mentorship, some guides. Because after you leave college, or even entering college, you need the steps of what I, went through, some of the just a viewpoint. So you can have kind of like a compass really to know how to navigate. So that's really where, the compass came in play because I really wanted young men to be inspired. I wanted to know that you can, become, a wonderful world-renowned broadcaster like yourself. You can be inspired to make it through the corporate world, but you might not have to go through the corporate world, and you can see the pitfalls and the traps that may come. And we need more people to kind of, mentors to reach back to help young men like yourself find a pathway. And I think that's where it inspired me. I want our young men to be of excellence like yourself to survive and thrive in society with financial literacy, to be inspired that others came before you. And so you're not alone. So that's really what, some of the compass was about.
Where did that love for trying to make sure you can do your best for the next generation for our country? Where did that love to mentor the youth come from?
It really was rooted in my mentors out of Oakland, California. Like, I've met so many great mentors. I had a mentor named Mr. Harold Logwood that was a lawyer from Howard University. And he moved back to Oakland. He was like really instrumental in the community. He was all about helping athletes, student athletes. He worked with the NFL to get like the minority programs for youth at like Castlemont High School. Just seeing like we had some like the mayor of Oakland, Eliu Harris. I mean, was he's a fraternity brother of mine, a Kappa Alpha Si fraternity, helped me, see like the possibilities of growth. My mentors and my father, like I talked in the book, I don't know if you read about the gentleman Ralph Grant.
Yeah.
He was the National Black Association of CPAs have an award named after him, and a whole national body. And he would get out of his Mercedes Benz, had a nice Mercedes, come out after in his suit, $2,000 suit, come practice with us, buy us pizza if we who ran first around the field.
Mhm.
So for me, I was pretty fast, so I always get the first slice of pizza. But it was just a game, but we all knew we were all gonna get a slice of pizza. But it was just fun because he always said, "I'm gonna get y'all some pizza if y'all whoever run around the field like twice." And the field was huge. It was a field in West Oakland, California. That's the home of the Black Panthers, West Oakland, California. So just seeing so many mentors, Oakland really taught me about like giving back, reaching back to help and leaving a legacy. Each leader that I've seen growing up, whether it be in the government, lawyers, they always, gave back of themselves. And I think that's something that, is more than just having your own, but it's always good to reach one and teach one, because you can have the castle on the hill, but then you're alone. But if other people don't know how to get to that pathway, then what is it?
Going back now, Oakland, California, man, just talk about that upbringing. What was life personally for you like growing up? And what did you see, growing up that maybe you haven't saw anywhere else?
I mean, like the most like a magical point I'm thinking about, like I played Oakland Babe Ruth League back in like the 80s and 1980s. And that was just real magical for me because we just see a group of like 300 African American black baseball players. It's like unheard of now.
Yeah.
And like the teams, like we would have the opening day would be like a march, right? And so each team, like Kappa, we were red, white, we had our pinstripe uniforms, and other teams had their chants. So like we would make all these chants. Like we have like the opening day parade. We would walk like 20 blocks to the baseball field. It was like all the parents was dressed up. It was like real energy because it was like the teams you knew who won were all lined up, and you could see teams who got better, and like just the open day parade and the games and just seeing the community like leaders. And when I thought back, I was like, look at all the coaches. One of my coaches' name was Louis Butler. He was the head of the Bay Bridge in California going to San Francisco. He was the head of the toll booth. Like it was like, wow, he come and coach us. He making good money, like Coach Grant. Like we had lawyers sponsor teams, like MC Hammer sponsored teams. I mean, to see MC Hammer come out there, we had like the group from back in the 60s, the Pointer Sisters. They sponsored teams. Pizza Hut, they owned like a Pizza Hut. And so Pizza Hut was sponsored teams. I mean, it was just to see, black males, that were successful coaching us at that point. That was really a magical moment. Just to being around that, just the energy. I think more so like just like my life growing up with all these athletes, like the guys who actually made it out out that league was like Dontrell Willis, like Dontrell, a Hall of Fame player, Jimmy Rollins. I mean, I
Mhm.
remember seeing Jimmy, and he was like 11, 12 years old, and he was taking like 200 balls from his father, practicing every after the game. You're like, who are this unheard of? And to see that work ethic, you could see a special you can see special players, and you can have an eye. Like God blessed me like to be around that, where I can see an athlete, and I could say, like I could look at Dodgers Kemp. I'm like, okay, he or whoever, Mookie Betts,
Yeah.
and I could say, well, he's the one. He's an all star. You could see, because it was just something special, growing up around these kids. And I think it's more so the motivation in the '80s. Unfortunately, we had a lot of drug issues going on. Oakland, it was a big epidemic of crack epidemic, and a lot of athletes out their gateway away from the violence. They wanted, so we created some great all star teams. The kids just wanted to get out of Oakland, and a lot of them, they went on to the World Series. They went to the White House back in the '80s and '90s to see, to win the whole national thing, like out of this little city they call it a town, but it's it's been shadowed by San Francisco. But the greatness is like the pride, the open pride that carried over to like so much.
You talk about, obviously being a part of many different sports teams, and your love for sports is probably beyond this world. Where did that love for sports come from? And you also talk about, a lot of drug violence and a lot of crime infested times in Oakland growing up. Was there ever any times that you saw you maybe close friends get lost within that? And how hard was it for you to kind of even stay away from that and stay on the right path?
Well, I mean, my love for sports, like, I mean, I started out, I was, in the crib with an Oakland A's uniform on.
Yeah.
I mean, I love football. So I had a great football in my hand at like 8 months old, and pictures of my mom.
Mhm.
So I love the game. I love baseball because it's the serenity and the teamwork. Like, I was fast. I played center field. I was an all-city baseball player in Oakland. I mean, got hits off of like Dontrell and all these guys. So it's like I knew I could play the caliber of ball with these type of athletes because I played with them at a youth. I mean, I think more so like with the, as you say about the violence. I mean, it was an everyday occurrence. Like you go down the street and somebody was shooting dice. You go down the hill, you getting ran off a baseball field because two guys want to beat me up. One day I had this guy, two guys that were after me, and I knew them, but I'm like, what they doing after me? So I had to run across a busy street to get home, and they wouldn't go across it, but I was so fast they had to dodge like some cars. But I mean, it was so sad. I'm laughing about it, but it's like
Yeah.
it was like you didn't want to get you just created these spider senses. Like you catch they called the AC Transit bus in Oakland. And so you knew like, okay, I'm gonna just let it like the bus would be so packed, say for example, during the summertime, with like 200 kids on a bus. You knew, all right, let this bus go. I don't want to be on that bus because it's liable, it'll be fights on the bus after summer school. Like you would see people getting dragged off a bus. It was crazy. So I mean, you just learn those things, survival skills. I mean, it just was a part of growing up. Like you was by yourself. Your parents weren't there with you. You had to create friends and alliances with guys just to kind of like just be safe and cool. Have a group of guys with you. And I mean, I didn't really have too much violence. I had some incidents of a fight in high school. Some guys jumped me, but that was over sports. But one of my buddies, I've lost a lot of friends to violence,
Yeah.
gun violence. I had one of my friends, Damian Bouchelion. He um, he was an excellent quarterback. Very, he was like a top rated quarterback at Skyline High School back in the '90s. We played some. We were like top ranked, like number 7 in the whole Bay Area. De La Salle, the number 1 high school in the nation, and they had all time winners high school. And
Yeah.
De La Salle, Damien, we call him Dame. He always had these. He was versatile, like had cornrows, looked like Michael Vick. He was just smooth. He was very intelligent. He would not have to study for any English exams and he passed
Hmm.
every exam. He was that intelligent of a writer. He was a poet. He was he knew how to do math like off the top of his head. Like, dang, like why are you not studying? And his mom would buy him like new Ken Griffey Jr. shoes. He had new underwear on every day. We're like, this dude is styling. Like he looking like got all the little girls and everything. So dude, everybody, he was my friend. He loved me. And he played for the Oakland Saints. I played for the Oakland Dynamites growing up, which was a rivalry as well. And so he came back to Oakland from Atlanta. He had four young daughters. They're all one of them I think graduated from high school now. He passed away in 2009, and then somebody shot him in Oakland when he came back and murdered him. So that was just one of my guys I knew. But I mean, I've had several like a guy named Willie I grew up with. He was killed due to gang violence. We played baseball together. He got killed. They killed him.
When there's times within kids that they really know nothing other than the streets, because that's what they're surrounded by from the time they're born to whenever they go off. What advice would you give to them to hopefully try to be removed from that violence, removed from the streets, removed from the drugs? What advice would you give to them to try to stay on focus?
Well, it's definitely such a challenge in so many like railroad pathways. Like say for example, like even Marshawn from Oakland. So Marshawn grew up in North Oakland, which is in West Oakland. So it's a bordering like gang like turf wars. And with Marshawn, what he was able to do was he was able to put his head down on the grind and play football. That was his saving grace because he had a lot of family members that were involved in the streets still. And the thing was where he, like for example, for him, he was able to, play at Cal Berkeley, and he was able to get away to go to Buffalo. And it was really with his experience, he was able to get a hand that guides him. He had Pete Carroll that cared about the community, like one of the coaches that really cared about athletes like him. So he was one of the most like lucky, ones that there's so many other great athletes like him, even better that did not make it. And for like Damien, he came up to me one night at a club, Air Lounge, and he was like, Brent, he was like, I wish that I would have went to Morehouse. And like, you went off to college to Prairie View. He's like, I should have stayed at Morehouse. And I think when an athlete like him, I would say that, if you get a scholarship, geographically, it's good to travel, but to realize even if you go to Atlanta, Florida, there's going to be an element that's similar to your home. So how to guard yourself from that environment is the biggest. You have to be disciplined within yourself. So
Growing
it's easier said than done, but it takes a heavy degree of discipline.
growing up and even in high school for you, what were things outside of sports that kept your attention busy and that you enjoyed just as much as playing the game of sports?
Well, I love reading. My mom always put a library in my house, and I had a bunk bed, and I had a bookshelf under the bunk bed. So I put this little chair up. I don't know. I just had a little chair under there, and I'll just sit back and I read books about sports, baseball, and just Indian in the Cupboard was one of my favorite books. Like I read that like 25 times. I had another book, The Kid That Loved Baseball. I read that like I got sleeping about that one, dreaming about that one. Every year before baseball practices, I would read it. But I had. I just my love, passion of like books. I would always be go to like park and recreation, and throughout the summertime. So that would like all day. It was a park called Allendale and Oakland and Brookdale, and I play like the T-shirt leagues. We had like Joe Morgan, the ex Hall of Famer. He donated like money to do a T-shirt league in Oakland. Like I would just like the park and rec. We would go all around to pools and kids be hanging out all day. That was, I was in Boy Scouts growing up, Cub Scouts. That was fun. My parents always had me in like little smaller activities like that, playing football. Of course, that was just like all fall. Like I played for the Oakland Dynamites, and we just had a set practice. We would go travel throughout Northern California to like playing football in Napa. You know, I mean, people travel to Napa all around the world. We're playing a football game, and you know, so like I got to see a lot of Northern California outside of Oakland with the Dynamites. That was fun. Like we went to every historical town in Northern California. Like, that was the fun part. It was bigger than the games, most likely sometimes. So that's really like with me, like staying at my grandmother's house. She in Berkeley, California. She helped, I stayed with them most of the time on the weekends too. So I really wasn't out in the streets like that too much. Like it was just, the games. But then I had like a, really like a structured kind of thing going on. And I didn't want to be out there anyway. I mean, I play with the kids in my neighborhood, my apartment. I was in, East Oakland, the heart of it, but I just didn't ever. I could kind of have the discernment. God protected me.
Talk about your family. What was it like growing up within your family, and what advice and love did you get from your family that you never got anywhere else, and how much did you have to rely on your family growing up?
Well, I love like growing up with my mom and dad and my grandparents. Like it was just like love. Like my mom and dad, they would always take me to like all the Kappa conventions. My father's Kappa and I'm a Kappa fraternity,
Mhm.
Kappa Alpha Si. And that was like my youth. Like my spring breaks was like at Kappa conventions in Long Beach, California, Los Angeles. And I was able to like, experience black men like in tuxedos and
Mhm.
suits that you don't normally see like on a daily basis. So that was like my like, wow, this exists. So that was fun. Like just really like I told you, like my mentors and stuff, seeing them as well throughout Oakland. Like, oh, he has a nice car, nice house. So go to their houses. They'd be in the Oakland Hills with a big old big house looking out on the city of Oakland, San Francisco. That was fun. Like really my grandmother, she was a beautician. So I would go wait at her beauty salon and she had like 4 booths. And being with her, she learned from Madam CJ Walker, the black millionaire hairstylist, and her daughter. And my grandmother inspired me like to know what business is and your free time and having clients and business acumen. And so my grandmother, her name was Jessie Sharp, and I just saw like it was fun being with her because it was like with my mom, she's like, "Oh, well, can I get some pizza?" Right? My mom was like, "Well, we gotta go get the frozen pizza." With my grandmother, she's like, here's $25, $50, go buy you whatever you want." So I love your grandmother because grandmother had like the cash, like let's go do it. Like I learned like, wow, that's what I want my life. I want to be able to like not trip when it comes to having some money and go spend it and go enjoy life. So grandmother like showed me like here's how life can be without not necessarily all the struggles. She had a house, had a. I remember she had like I don't know if you read in a book where she had a Chrysler Fifth Avenue drop off to her house. Like I was the first time I ever seen somebody get a car dropped off at the house. The dealer dropped it off.
Mhm.
And like that was cool. Like I was like, wow, grandma's doing real nice, real well. So I was fun. My Uncle T was with me. My Uncle T always would name was Tarmel Coleman. And I loved him so much. I get a little sad thinking about him, choked up, but he he always would tell me like, you better, you need to go work hard. He's like, you need to go. Like, one time I wasn't doing very well. Like I was kind of just not getting jobs and things. He's like, you need to go out there and get it. He's like, there's people digging ditches for $30 an hour. And he said, he said he wasn't gonna talk to me until I got a job. So it took me like 2 days and I got a job. I was at a college called Laney College, and I looked around and I got a job doing a Coca-Cola street team. I was out like promoting Coca-Cola
Yeah.
in the community. So that was a fun job. But I had that job like right away. And I said, Uncle T, I got a job. And he said, good. And he said he loved me. And then we started talking again. And then I just, now it's back like 20 years ago. And so what I did was I've never kept that. I kept that rotation. Like I never stopped like getting, the drum beat of I could get a job. Like I don't care if it's, Uber, Popeyes. I mean, a man told me one time, he said, you got a job, it beats a blank. And I'll never forget that. And my grandma always said, look someone in the eyes. Never be afraid to look someone in the eyes.
Yeah.
She said, always hold your head up high. And I always hold my head up high and look people in the eyes, but I'm never afraid to carry myself with character and pride, because what I do is I carry their blood inside of me. I carry them with everywhere I go, they're inside me. So I'm not, I am an embodiment of them. So
Absolutely, absolutely, and I love that you said that because, and as you know, and my listeners know, I talk about it quite often. I love my family. I'm a family man. So when you say that, it's like your last name is embedded on you, and whatever you do represents your last name, your family name. So that was I love that what you just said. That's really good. Talk about some of your mentors, and what they did for you that helped you get to where you are today, and also talk about whether it's in high school, growing up, or even now, some sports idols that you had, and why were they some people that you always look to watch?
I've had so many like great mentors. Like, I mean, I would say like just even like in my own area, I would say I saw like Willie Brown, the mayor of San Francisco.
Yeah.
He dressed impeccably, like nice suits, and was just looking had nice hats. He looked so good. Like I just love the style and grace. And I would say like just seeing him. And I had like a journalist, Chauncey Bailey. He's from Oakland, and we would go walk. We call it the Lake Merritt, and we have like a mentor thing. Like we'd be paired up with like pastors and journalists and everybody, and we have a day at the lake. And so we would walk the lake, and we all talk about like how it worked, how they got to where they got, and it was just like really good because it helped me to this day. And so that really, inspired me. Chauncey was very intelligent. I loved, he taught about like traveling the world, going to St. Kitts and going to different parts of the world. So it inspired me about journalism. I mean, I like you love journalism. So I just loved, like, I love reading the paper back in Oakland. It's called the Oakland Post. And I love reading. And so that's what Chauncey always taught me about. Like, he said, anything national is African American. He said, if there's a National Association of Black Journalists, it's African American. He says the National Association of Black Lawyers. I was like, wow, no one ever told me what national. He said it was American, it's white. I was like, wow, I never knew. And so he did an interview on YouTube one day. So I was like, this is very incredible. I mean, but he was just a great journalist that would do a lot of work, that discovery work like that was people would not necessarily go out, so undiscovered. So I would say also the athletes, like growing up watching the A's, the Oakland A's were like World Series champions. Like the energy and electricity from those games was nothing that I have felt in a long time. I could still feel the electricity of seeing Ricky Henderson, which was one of like an Oakland great, like seeing him play. Dave Stewart, like a black pitcher that you don't see anymore, like a dominant black pitcher. Like where is that? I mean, it's like it was just amazing. Seeing Dave Henderson and Mark McGuire. Like these are the teams today don't have that type of power. Like Dave Henderson, like the 1 through 9 was like Ricky. You had Walt Weiss, shortstop. You had Mike Bordick. You had Mike Gallego at second base. Mark McGuire, Stan Javier, Tony La Russa, who's still coaching.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you had Dennis Eckersley, one of the greatest closers, top 5 of all time. I mean, top 10, depending on who you're talking to. I mean, but I mean, he was like, and he was great. I mean, and so when you go to the game, the Coliseum was, they talk about it's old, but the special nature before they put the Mount Davis there, you could see the games through there was a green fence, and you could see Jose Canseco just launching 470-foot bombs in the left field. Like batting practice was like better than the game, because kids would go down. We can go to the bleachers and we can fight over the baseballs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and these balls were just screaming back at you. So like all the Babe Ruth Link teams, we would get off of the games and we go straight in our uniforms to the game. And I don't even know how half of us had a ticket, but somehow we all got in the game. And then because they had this thing called strikeout on one of the lower concourses, so all the guys, the best pitchers, would try to see how fast they threw. Like, oh, I can pitch for the A's, right? Because it's 90 miles per hour. Because you're so close, right? But we had some good pitchers, but it was just fun. So like our whole experience would be waiting at the games on the weekends. We wouldn't be in no trouble. We'd be at the game. It'd be 3 hours. Before you know it, it's Saturday night and you're at home. I mean, so we would go from baseball, going to a game, which made the Oakland A's such a safety net for kids in Oakland at the time. Could you just go to the game? So those are part of some of the mentors that that I had a coach named Huey Malone who worked for Chevron for 30 years, engineer, excellent. He taught me math growing up. He was my tutor. That was good. He come by my house, and I always loved him. He grew up he lived in Chicago, Houston, all around the country. Also a fraternity member of mine, and just was a wonderful mentor. Um, I had another coach, Jim Brown. He was he coached athletes from here. Where he was a real good coach, and he worked with kids at Alameda County Juvenile Hall. He would mentor all these kids. He wanted them to get out of the system, and he was a black cowboy. He was a black cowboy parade. He was like always working out with me. Like we work out. He had a class at Laney College, so a lot of fun. So those are like a lot of my group of mentors. I had pastors, J. Alfred Smith. He actually was the United States chaplain for us a couple of years, and he's in Allen Temple Baptist Church in Oakland. So like those are just one of my mentors. Like Walter Hawkins, you know, uh, just choir members. I mean, singing in choirs with him. Just it was just amazing.
You talk about in your book getting ready to transition to the next part of your life, which is the college part of your life now, the college lifestyle. That you wanted to continue playing football at the next level, but and you wanted to go to one of the some top schools, but top schools didn't come after you, but you had the opportunity to get an offer from Prairie View A&M University. Talk about that experience for you, and what was that growth for HBCUs for you from that point on?
Right. Well, like coming out of high school, like I was able to I played defensive back and running back.
Hmm.
And like the big thing for the athletes in Oakland was like, well, who's next? We always talk about who's next because we always had a group that would get scholarships every year. Like Skyline High School produced, I talked about in the book, like great athletes that came out of there, and they were a top powerhouse, and we call it the Oakland Athletic League. And with with me, I had like University of Washington, Oklahoma State, uh, you know, just different, colleges, San Diego State, San Jose State. University of Washington was my top one because they were like national title champions back in the day. So I really wanted to
Hmm.
go there. Oklahoma State was like my top two. So, but the scholarships, just didn't pan out at the time. And they actually went with some other guys from Oakland. But it was all good. And I got a chance. I was like, well, I want to go to HBCU. I was like, that's my coach, Matthew Walker, was from Prairie View, called Waller. He was next to Waller County. He was in Hempstead. There was a town called Hempstead, and so he took us down to Prairie View. We flew down. My mom got us a flight. It was like four players, a buddy named Mario, TJ, and Kareem, and we all went to Prairie View. And like it was just, it was a wonderful campus. Like it was huge. Like it was like big with all black professors, and not all black, but most majority blacks present. Like, and then just going into the campus, you see like Prairie View A&M University. Just kind of like just. And so I was like, wow, I really think this is a good opportunity. And
Yeah.
the coach showed our film to the coach. He said, well, I'll offer him a scholarship. And we was like, what? We got a scholarship? And it's like, I was just the most electrifying. It was like, we got a scholarship to Prairie View. And so we went back home to Oakland. We just knew we had the scholarship. And it was like, wow, all that hard work paid off. Working out, I worked out all the time, just running and doing my bleachers. It paid off, like all the
Yeah.
energy. Like I didn't get picked up by Cal Berkeley or Washington, so I was, went to Prairie View, and that helped out a lot. I mean, I loved it. I mean, I think we it was some kids from Miami that was from Northwestern High School, a couple of kids from Central, and they were state champions. The Northwestern and Central was rivalry. That's where like all these great Santana Moss, like went to University of Miami, just so many great Miami players. So it was like Miami and Oakland collides. And it was like, wow. So we all were good players, and we all got a chance to see their style of play and our style of play. And then when I looked at it, I was like, wow, I was the Northwestern kid. He a champion, right?
Mhm.
And here we are from Oakland, and we actually able to play on the same level, even better. Like my techniques was just, on the level that was no different. So I was like, I knew I could play on that level. But unfortunately, I did a I worked out when it was not, sanctioned by the coaches, and I tore my knee up. So I had a lateral meniscus tear, and it was a week before the Texas Southern Labor Day Classic, and so that pretty much hurt my career at Prairie View.
Mhm.
And it was hard to recover. I had to get surgery, and just being in a foreign place is very challenging. Have your family around when you're injured, and not a lot of uncertainty.
Af-
Being 18 years old and not knowing, what's next.
After that injury, what did you foresee for your future? What did you think held for you after that? Did you think you could stay in Prairie View? Did you think, might need to leave? I might need to pursue different things. What did you think your future held for you after that?
I was just like trying to kind of get my bearings. Like I didn't necessarily do the best when it came to my rehab. It was kind of like I needed to like see, I'd say a sports psychologist. It's good to talk to somebody. I didn't have that outlet at the time. It wasn't as widely popular as it is now, and discussed. So I think that would advise athletes to go seek like sports psychologists to kind of gather their thoughts to kind of get them back into the mode of things. I think that it was sad because I wanted to play. I never been injured like that in my whole life, and God sat me down. Um, I thought I could still play at Prairie View, but I was not as focused as I should have during my the spring ball. I wasn't focused with the practices, and I ended up losing my scholarship. So, and I went back to Oakland, which was a very humbling experience.
What did you get from losing your scholarship? What did you learn from that? And what did you think, okay, I lost my scholarship, but now I have an opportunity to be even greater. What did you think after you losing your scholarship now?
I mean, really, it was more so like a shock, because it was like your taste of what the real world of sharks. You're in a shark tank of ocean, and it's
Mhm.
like the real world of what life brings to you, and what you're no longer in like Oakland where some of the coaches make here. So I learned a lot. It humbled me. It made me see things differently about the appreciation of what you have. And like that was gone. That experience was gone. So I went to Chabot College after that in Hayward, California. I
Talk
played
about,
football.
my
Mhm.
apologies. Go ahead.
No, I played football there, and that was
Talk about the fraternity life for you. I know you said your father was a part of the same fraternity as you, and so that was installed in you, I'm sure, at a young age. Talk about that, and also, what is something that people that have never been a part of that lifestyle, what we might not understand that you guys actually get to do, and what kind of brotherhood that you guys have?
right. I mean, me like I became a member of Kappa in Alpha Si in 2005. And I think me growing up in like the 80s, like seeing like, great men like lawyers and professors and, doctors and things like that in the same room was inspirational
Mhm.
versus like what I see image wise. I mean, back in the day, I would watch like chips or, that was back in the 80s, it was color purple or it was not any like I don't remember seeing that many programs with that many African American males in my eyesight,
Yeah.
besides going to like a church. So it was pretty inspirational. And my experience, like the brotherly love with some of the members, are just unforgettable at moments. Some talked about like leadership, time management, being, I had a brother that's a teacher in Indianapolis that was like, he wanted me to be better at it when I was younger. He's like, I want you to be better with time management. I want you to be better as a man. I want you to be better. He wrote a book. He said, yeah, he let me read his book, and we would talk, and he would just holding me accountable. That was, it's not more so than just like they talk about, you know, Kappa is pretty boys or whatever, but not necessarily pretty boys, but keeping yourself, cut well, keeping yourself clean and presentable, because in our society we get judged on the imagery of what we look like, unfortunately, especially as African American males. And the presentation is so wonderful that, hey, you look good, you talk, you speak well, well, your presentation is everything. And so, like, my mentors just taught me speaking with power, speaking with excellence. I've seen some great speakers and presenters. Like, wow, I remember I was in Little Rock, and I was at a convention back in like 2007, and one of the brothers, he's from Arkansas as well, and he was just like, he's a leader of the organization, and he's also from Oakland, was a mentor of mine named Robert Harris, and he just, the way he spoke and the power was just like, wow, the eloquence and the power like inspired me to know that I have that same aspiration. I loved it. And just I love that, it's fun, just being around them brothers who, love you, hug you, give you love, and just you go into a room of inspiration, like after a week of like maybe working in the world where there's no one to vent to, no one to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a meeting group where you can bounce off of maybe one brother that's vibing with you. Everybody don't may not like your style, but you might have somebody like your style.
Yeah.
And yeah, one brother like, okay, well, he cool with me. We talk about life and talk about strategies of how this career went, how that went, and so there you go.
The next step for you, which I think personally elevated you to get to where you are today, was attending St. Augustine's University. Talk about that experience. How did you get there? And going into a communication major, what did you learn there that you helped love your relation for communications?
Well, St. Augustine's was like definitely 20 notches down beneath Prairie. I mean, it's a small
Yeah.
Episcopalian private school, and it's on the East Coast, basically Raleigh, North Carolina. Uh, the weather was more extreme than Texas. Hurricanes, ice storms. I mean, the most extreme I've experienced in my life. I survived. But we were building a football program, and I joined the football program there in 2002 with the head coach Michael Costa from Hampton University. Our president came from Hampton University, so it was kind of
Yeah.
like a smaller, like the experience was like a smaller Hampton, but not as many, the resources were not there. So I was able to like really help them with building their website. I was on the website committee, helped with now they have a functional, world-renowned website. So helping like facilitate that. I was the vice president of the NAACP there at St. Augustine's. We revitalized the NAACP. When I first started the NAACP, I chose not to be the president because I wanted the North Carolina people from North Carolina, a lady from Wilmington, to be the president because it's their home state. So I want them to have the representation, but I had to facilitate and get like the ballots from Wake County and get like us
Yeah.
to register to vote and all that stuff. So I was able to get our charter and was able to like, just being involved in the politics and the Democratic Party in North Carolina. I was able to start I started the St. Augustine's Black Journalists Association. I was able to get us chartered through the Raleigh, North Carolina, National Association of Black Journalists. The current, well, I think the past president of the National Association of Black Journalists was my mentor, and now she was worked at the Raleigh Triangle newspaper group. So I mean, just so many things at St. Augustine's. I was on the SGA. I was on boards at the campus. I did a lot, to help and facilitate. So with the football program, we started in 2002. Now, here we are. The program, they won, like, they're the CIAA Conference, Central Intercollegiate Athletic Association. We have a new stadium there in the last, 15 years. So the campus, like being a part of that growth was amazing, even though it wasn't like Duke University or
Yeah.
UNC that's already built. Like I can say, wow, I was blessed to be a part of the ground up. And I mean, it was a lot of challenges, a lot of experiences at St. Aug. But I grew through that just to be a part where my voice was heard. I was able to like help facilitate these organizations. And sometimes, I mean, even though you may not get the credit, it's all good because in your heart, and God knows that you were able to help.
Give me what's a day-to-day schedule like for you at that time in St. Augustine's? What time do you wake up? What do you do when you wake up? When do you eat lunch? Stuff like that. Give me a day-to-day. What was your day-to-day schedule like?
Like like me, I created a system. My buddy Marcus, his father had like a task list every Sunday. We go to the golf course, or before we go to the golf course, we had to clean the house up. So I created a to-do list. But then I had to create my schedule of every day. Like when the semester started, I had to have like my chart on the wall. And so when my chart on the wall was like, okay, I have 7 o'clock in the morning, I got to get up, take a shower, go first class 8 o'clock. I got to go to breakfast at 7:30 because they ain't gonna have no more sausages. So I had to get there because I love my breakfast. I love my. I had to get my, oatmeal, my sausage, eggs. The eggs weren't that great, but when you hungry, you ain't cooking. It was there. I had that, and then I'll go to class 8 o'clock to like 11:30. Boom, go back to my room. I'll bring my bag with me, go straight to the gym. Gym 11:30, 12. I had like other classes in the afternoon, might be like 1 o'clock, 2, um, 3 o'clock, probably my last class. Then I had to go to the library because I worked at the library. So I would be at the library like from 5 to 11.
Mm.
So I mean, of course, I had a break to go to dinner, and like dinner would be like 6. So yeah, it's like sometimes like 7 to 11. I'll be in the library. Oh, but that's my job on campus. So that was cool because I work in the library. I kept me out of trouble. I read, do my homework for like 3 hours, and then I read for the rest. So I was in the library pretty much most of the time. I had 2 jobs on campus. I was in a library, and then I was a dorm advisor.
Mm-hmm.
So I was making money on both sides. But I mean, I kept my lifestyle. I can go buy food, pizzas and stuff. It was fun. But I mean, I've been a go getter like that. I didn't hesitate, and it was fun to get those jobs.
What advice would you give, even this for myself as well, but for anyone that's listening that's having a hard time with scheduling, time management? I have a lot on their plate, but they're trying to figure out how can I do this in a certain amount of time. What advice would you give for time management?
Like with me, it's like the old school approach. Like I have a notebook.
Mm-hmm.
I have several options. I have a notebook on my desk right now. I have a meal chart, which like elementary school meal chart. Like, okay, I'm gonna have chicken, beans, or something like that. Salad. So I create that, just a visual. I may not stick
Yeah.
to that. I have like 2 calendars up, and the calendars like I mark down. Okay, the days. I know what I marked some important things like payday and stuff on those dates. Then I have another chart on my that I have up like a dry eraser board. Like I have our meeting, which was at 10, but I'm flexible, of course. And I have like when what I have to do for the month, so I can visually instead of like reminder in my phone, because sometimes I get reminders on my emails as well. But if I have a visual and those forms, that I have to do. I have to keep a more sophisticated approach there. But my to-do list, what I do is I mark down what I need to do for the day. And a man always told me, he said, you highlight the things you want to do at the top 3 at the top of the chart. But if you're not able to knock those off, you move them to the next day. And now each one that I mark down is like I put a box and I X those out. And so it's helped me essentially because like I have goals, like say for my job goals. Okay, I got to do 6 transfers or something for my insurance job. Well, I mark those down on my goal sheet. If I don't get to them, that's okay. But I mean, I know I set my goals. I have like, okay, I gotta, like this morning, wake up, drink some coffee, work out 11 o'clock, got another job, work my job for 12:30. It helps my day go by at 12:30, 1:30, 1 o'clock, 2, 3, and I can stay on that chart and like it's helped out essentially. That's one way. That's worked for me because I need to be. I don't like missing things. I try to be ahead schedule. Like I have a cleanup day. Like I clean up the fridge or clean up the bathrooms. And I just like organizing. I like having the clean slate because when you have things all over the place, you don't have a better your mind. It shows where your mind is.
You
So
had
being organized and being like with a pulse because I remember missing out on something in life once, and I told myself I never want to miss out on it again. And so I have a kind of aggressive approach. I got to knock it out because I don't want to miss that day.
you've had the blessed opportunity to be a baseball coach now for over 15 years, and you've won championships multiple times. Talk about what got you into that, and what's been the biggest difference from being a player growing up and being a coach now?
I mean, it was just like with me, it was just a blessing. Like as with Kappa baseball and like growing up with my coaches and like just all my coaches were just wonderful to be. Everyone was different. Like I had Coach Gamble, and I love about Coach Gamble. He would always pick me up. Like he was like my stepdad almost. He said, "Come on, baby, let's go, baby." That's how he talked. He said, "Come on, baby, yeah, hit the ball, Brent." And so like he would always be at my All Star games. He was from Kansas City, Missouri. So he watched Satchel Paige growing up, and he watched like the Negro Leagues. So I'm like, dang, this is my coach, right? And so like I felt God blessed me with them. They sacrificed so much in their spirit to help. So I felt like an obligation at the time, to give back. And baseball was my serenity. It brought me to a peaceful place, and to be around those athletes. So I created a team called Team Cali many years ago. And I actually, what I recruited was the top African American players from each high school that wanted to try to go to a HBCU. And sometimes there would be one African American out of a whole team, and they didn't have no college options. And I said, this kid is a pitcher, an outfielder, an infielder. He runs a 4.5. He's 6'3", can hit a home runs. Why is he not getting a scholarship? So I asked the kids. We had a game, a meeting at the Kappa House in West Oakland, California. And I said, "What do you guys want to name a team?" They said, "Team Cali." I was like, "Whoop, whoop, Team Cali." So I want you guys to take ownership. I said, "This is like The Apprentice."
Yeah.
I said, "I want you to be the owner of this. You're gonna have to go raise some money. You're gonna have to do, So I gave them a game plan. And I mean, I had to raise some money from them, from like the Oakland A's, help bless us with some money, other community organizations, barbecue, Everett Jones Barbecue. And we were able to get our first team to a World Series in North Carolina. And it was in Greensboro, North Carolina. Oh, no, no, yeah, that was the first one. And it was, the kids, we only had like 11 kids out of like other teams had 15, 16 players, like 7 pitchers. So I had to rotate all these kids in different positions from shortstop to pitcher, and I didn't have backups. But the most blessed part about it, we played against a team called North Carolina A&T Aggies. They're an all-star team in North Carolina. They played like 48 games. My team, they played on other travel teams, but we never played but 2 practice games. We went to the championship and only lost by 6 points. We beat Marquise Grissom, ex Major League Baseball All Star team. We beat, team players that went to University of Georgia, South Carolina. We beat them. So I wanted to inspire in my guys, like just because you don't get a scholarship in California, you can make it. You can play baseball. And I gave them, help. God bless us with experience to go to travel and see. Like they never been on a plane that far, half of them. They had their names on their uniforms, Team Cali. And it was just, I honor my coaches because it was like in high school, there was no pipeline to go to college. Like Cal Berkeley is like 7 minutes away, and other colleges are in the area, but they don't pick up the guys. So, with out of that team, like guys got scholarships to go to Shaw University, and then they were offered. Over the years, I had a one kid. He didn't want to go to the trip with me. Right, we went to Richmond, Virginia. We played the Atlanta Braves AAA stadium at the time, and this was my biggest game. They had over 6,000 people at the game, at least. It was amazing. All the churches came out in the area. It was a blessing. But one of my players who played for North Carolina A&T, and he became an engineer. So, um, that's really why I want to get back, because many African American baseball players, they have no pipeline in California to go to like the major schools. And sometimes there might be one African American player out of like or two. Like you look at the University of Arkansas, might have one African American baseball player right now. And it's like there's more African American baseball players that can play. There's not they don't have the opportunity like that. So
You also during this time had the opportunity to attend Grambling State University and get your master's degree there. Talk about how you got there and what was Grambling like for you, and how did you adapt to Grambling?
Grambling, I was inspired because by Grambling because I always watched the Bayou Classic
Yeah,
on TV, and that was my introduction. Like it'd be on NBC, and I would see like Eddie Robinson out there, and I'm like, "What's this little black college? Like they uniforms ain't like Cal Berkeley or something." I'm like, "What is this?" Right?
yeah,
But I was like, I kind of I thought I felt like Grambling was an underdog, but the coach was just kind of like iconic. He was Eddie Robinson, all-time winningest college football coach, and I was just fascinated with that history, and I connected to that. And I when I went to the Bayou Classic, I met some friends. I had some people from Oakland that went down there. I had decided that I'll go try it out. My brother friend kept on bugging me like, "Brent, you need to come to Grambling." He told me it's like in 2000, and I was like, "Nah, I'll think about it. I'll think about it. I don't know." Right? I was at Chabot College in the summertime. My buddy was taking a summer class for Grambling, and then I finally went there in 2006. So 6 years later, I finally got the bug to go get where my dad took me down there. We flew down there, and I went to Grambling for masters, and like that was the last year that Eddie Robinson was alive. So I was in the same area, the last year that Eddie Robinson he died. When I was at campus, I went to his funeral. So I was just like, wow, I'm glad that I was saddened that he passed, but I was around that energy, that love. He was there, like right there. So I mean, and in Grambling, we was able like I experienced. They built this the gymnasium when I was there. They were able to like the football program. I was able to help with being with like I was able to work with like the athletic department, and like they got games to play against like University of Nevada. They played against Cal Berkeley. I was instrumental helping with my alumni bringing like talking getting that out, talking to the athletic director, pushing them to like at the time to get us to play major schools. And so like the blessing we was able to play Kaepernick in Nevada,
yeah.
and the second game we was able to play Jared Goff in Cal Berkeley. So and they played like TCU as well, but it's just a blessing. It was just a blessing to be, part of that to see like Grambling historically to play Cal Berkeley in the Bay Area was like one of the most like just it was sad. It was like euphoric because of course, we didn't have the resources and to win that type of game. Players never played in that type of terrain. I mean, but if we would have won, the earth would have just shook
Yeah.
in the world. But it was just to be on that field. It's historical.
Mhm.
Yes, everything is economics, but to have a collide of you know of a titan of Cal with that much money, you know, Grambling to play them, it's still part of the history, which a lot of people may not have seen. I mean, you want HBCUs are so historical, but Grambling is just it sits up there on top because everybody knows Grambling. A lot of people don't know the HBCU. They're just now starting to discover where the HBCUs are. Um, so I thought I'm just happy to have witnessed that game, and I have friends on both sides, which was crazy. My Kappa brothers was from Cal Berkeley, and I mean, and some people still don't understand the implications. Yes, you root for Cal. Yes, you root for Grambling, but Grambling won that would did like what Deion Sanders is doing to Jackson State.
Yeah.
Like when Deion finally gets the right players and he beats a top Division I school, that's gonna be a great day. And he will do that if he gets the right quarterback.
Absolutely. Um, I'm going to fast forward, and I think this is probably one of the biggest pieces for you is what that church says right there, legacy driven. Talk about how that came into play. Where did the idea come from? And what does the word legacy driven mean for you? And what do you want it to mean for others?
I was packed a lot packed in there. I would say more so like, as we're discussing, like each stage of my life, like I feel like I'm carrying a torch.
Mm,
I'm carrying a torch of that is light, the light for those that sacrifice for me that are no longer here, that may not get to where I'm getting going to go, but they did something to get me here. So I'm not going to let them down. I'm going to keep fighting for, like, everything that I've done, like whether my wife and we built our house. That's legacy driven. Like I was driven for that. Like I was like, babe, we got to get this house. Let's go get it. We have a beautiful
yeah,
home, like into our house. And that was a blessing. Like I'm driven for like getting this company. Like I was like, wow, nobody had this logo ever. Like no one, like no athlete like all nobody like legacy. That's what your legacy. You're an athlete, right? You're Michael Jordan. You're a legacy. Steph Curry. You're a legacy. And aren't you driven? Like you get up at 4 or 3 in the morning, but it just didn't click, So like God blessed us. We were down in Barbados for a trip, and I was like getting a massage, thinking like business minded. I love like Master P business acumen. I love it, right? And I was like, you know what? I said legacy driven. And I came up in my mind. I said, I came up with an idea because we used our trips as retreats. And so we decided like legacy driven would be the company. And so I just started out, went on, line. Um, we had, research and we was like, wow, no, and the trademark, no one has legacy driven.
yeah.
And now it's ours forever. Like we're gonna pass it to our family. And so that's where, we came up with the idea of the trade of our global sports apparel, legacy driven. And so like legacy driven means to me is like you living out every day with a purpose. And you're not going to waste that day. You have a mission. Every one of us has been blessed with a mission, but it's up to each one of us to find out what's inside of us that's going to bring that roar outside of you. And are you going to just be a person that just exists, or a person that has an impact? Like I'm saying, like I was involved with so much because I cared so much. And God, had I not been, pushed forward to do Team Cali, the kids would never went to that school. You see, they wouldn't have went to A&T. So that was part of the legacy. Like I want their legacy to be great. I'm driven for them to have excellence. I'm driven for the book, The Compass, for Black males to stop shooting in Little Rock, stop shooting in Oakland, stop shooting in Chicago. Wake up, you're great, you're beautiful. You don't have to be involved in that. You can do the Dayline show. You can do your own show. You can be a businessman or woman. I mean, so you can be. There's so much more. Look at all, like you saw some of the things I put in there. Like you finished the whole book.
I'm almost done.
Yeah, so you saw like I was talking about like Frederick Douglass, all these
Yeah,
leaders that
I've got.
sacrificed for us. Like why would we want to you know not respect and honor them? Why are we turning up in Atlanta or Dallas doing something real bad when you could do more? There's more. This is not us. That's why I talked about the book. This doing side shows. This is not us. we can change. And it's like and that's where the book. No, who's sitting down having the real discussions like we're talking. So that's where with me, I live it every day. Like I believe God is blessing me to be a blessing to other people and blessing, to my family. And I don't take it for granted. Like people who sacrifice for me, who have given me time. Like I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for everything, every moment, and people that given, helped me in my life. And I feel like the angels around me, and I'm thankful. And so I just, God has really just been so good to me.
As I get to my last couple questions, as I talk about every episode, I'm big on again legacy. And when I'm gone, being remembered for something beyond who I was and being known to help others and be the best person I possibly can. You've given a lot of great advice, and you've obviously talking about your legacy, but in whole, 200 years from now when you're gone, um, what advice would you give for others about life in general, and what is something that you want to be remembered for, that some that others may not know about you personally?
Right. I would say like for me, you know, like when they say Brent Thibeaux, that I was a visionary, someone that you know we have to carry the torch, like someone like you have to carry the torch within yourself. Be different, be an eagle. Don't just be in the crowd as a lamb,
Yeah.
and carry more for yourself. Stand more for not just for your spirituality, for God has blessed for you, not just your acumen of your color, what you look like, because you have a heritage. But discover your heritage. Don't just exist just because you're here in Detroit. Find a bigger mission outside of yourself. And just Brent, when you think about Brent Thibeaux, like financial literacy, financial literacy, do you can have wealth if you do the small things right. The Benz is not going to make you happy.
Yeah.
The Maserati, the Mercedes Benz trucks, the Range Rovers, those are nice, but get your finances in order. Learn the small steps. Learn from, like, my wife and I are creating a book called Financial Freedom. We have a financial literacy book. And hold on one moment, please.
What's up, gang? How y'all doing? Y'all doing good? Y'all doing good? Y'all doing good? I'm sure y'all are doing good. And I hope y'all are enjoying the last couple episodes of Gary Burton Jr. Some great stuff, man. It was the long episode ever, but it was a great talk. I even got to answer a couple questions myself. So pretty dope
But,
stuff.
but so like I would say, when you think about me, I'm all about family, and I want to bring always pride to my family name. That when they see me, like, wow, like when they read that book, it will always be nuggets. That, of course, technology and things will change, but the spirit of the Lord and the word never changes. And it's like God is, in everything that I've done, through my pitfalls and ups and downs, but He's guided me. So if you like, there's never a straight road to success. But if someone can help you get through, you don't have to fall through that ditch. That road can just be a little bit less, terrain. And so that's where I wanted to be. So I wanted to be someone that people could listen to and continue. Just I want to always help. I want our young. I'm crying out from my heart right now. Like, even in 2021, for our young men involved in crime. I just really don't want them to be in those situations. I want, our young women to have good husbands and good young men like yourself going to college, doing excellent things, and going to graduate with honors. And I know you are, but it's just like, and if I could help, you and others, I'm just happy, and I'm glad to be, part of your life, and other people, young men's lives. So I would say, like, if when they think about me, so not someone that was perfect, someone that can be down to earth,
Yep.
someone that's real, someone that's loving. Sometimes, if you don't get the chance to talk to someone, you can look at a shade, but you never know the whole side of the story. And I think that's where, I would want people to know that just talk. If you can listen and talk to me, you might find something different about what you see.
And from not only myself, but speaking for all of us, we appreciate you for helping us try to reach to the next level and try to help us devote our lives to something successful and positive and what we love to do. So we appreciate you, and I appreciate you for taking some time out of your schedule to come sit down with me. It truly means the world to me, and I cannot thank you enough for that. For listeners that may have any questions that I didn't get to, if you're willing to put out any social medias that you have, so listeners may have an extra question or anything, would you be willing to put that out for them?
Oh, yes. I mean, you can reach me on LegacyDriven Apparel on Instagram, and just message me if you have any questions. And that's basically, like, the best place to really, reach me. I'm on Twitter as well. The Compass, Brent Thibeaux, the Compass, on there. But you can definitely reach me on there, and if you have LinkedIn, you can find me on there. So I mean, I'm on Facebook as well. I'm Brent Thibeaux. So yeah, any questions for that? But yeah, that's mainly what what legacy driven means to me, and just living a life of legacy. and be driven for something that can make a difference in our community and to yourself, besides you just having a nice big house and a pool. Because you can have that and still have.
Any shout outs you want to give to anybody, whether it be family members, friends, loved ones, any shout outs you want to give to anybody?
Oh yes, I want to shout out to my lovely wife, Melissa Thibeaux, and she's been, by my side and supporting me and just helped me become a better man in my life. And just what I love about my wife is that she has a wonderful heart, and she's very like intelligent and works really hard at her job, and does very well. And she listens to me. We listen to each other. We're a great team. And I love also she went to like Florida State, and she just like went to, there were champions there, and we have a lot in common when it comes to her being around like champions of like Charlie Ward and great like we talk about history. So he was historical as a black quarterback to be number one, and never ever Florida State never had a black quarterback like him. And then Eddie Robinson, that mean Grambling. So it's like God has merged us, even though we were on different sides of the world, America supposedly. It was just God was already in the midst, even though you think you're in one geographic region, just like we're talking now. So
shout out to Miss Melissa. She is truly one of the most nicest people I've ever met. You guys continue doing what you're doing. We appreciate you again. Continue living life to the fullest, and you guys keep doing what you're doing, and you're having a lot of fun on them vacations. I got to get down with one of y'all to one of those vacation spots, but y'all keep doing.
What vacation? What did you see? Which one did you see?
Yeah, I think I went to Houston, or something like that. Y'all went somewhere, a beach, or maybe I can't remember where, but
oh yeah, we went to Cabo.
Yeah. I'm not even a beach person, but it looked real nice. I gotta.
Cabo is, I mean, it's wonderful because you can just sit out on the ocean and look at the beautiful arch. And I love Mexican food, so like Cabo is one of my favorites as far as Mexico. I mean, I know there are other parts of the world, but it's just the weather and the environment was just like I love the culture. I love it's just a wonderful place. But I also want to shout out to my mom and Trinell and my father Steve for sacrificing for me to make it to 40 years old where I'm at now. They did a lot. All my mentors, Oakland and around the country as well, at all the colleges, and just of course, my pastor right now, Bishop T. Jakes, was really inspirational. So I'm very thankful.
Well, shout out to them, because within your help, I've been able to get a lot of great things happening. So we appreciate you again.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you so much.
And for the listeners, thank you guys for tuning in for another episode. It truly means the world to me. You guys keep striving for greatness. Keep leaving the legacy that Mr. Brent has talked about throughout this episode. Keep being happy. Keep being smart. Keep being wise. And keep being the greatest person you can be. God bless everyone. Stay safe.